everyone. Welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson. And today's guest is a lovely, lovely soul. Her name is Sara Kujawa. And she has gone on this incredible healing journey and is a healer herself. She's a Reiki practitioner. She teaches Reiki at the local, I believe it's the Lone Star College. And also has been so pivotal in helping people move through grief and to connect to their loved ones who have passed, because she recently had experienced the loss of her son. So I don't want to waste another moment introducing her. Welcome, Sara.
Hi, Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Thank you for having me on your show.
So excited.
I know. And we're only like an hour apart from each other, but this is great.
We're so close, but yet so far. We hardly get to see each other. But welcome. I wanted to really share with our listeners the backstory, because I know your life changed in 2014. But before we really go deep into that, what were you doing prior to that?
Prior to, I was a fitness trainer. I had my own gym for many years. And then I retired from that in about 2005. I had a lot of big events in 2005. And then I ended up renting a space to use for fitness training, for personal training. So that's what I was doing up until that point. So I was already semi-retired when my son passed in 2014. And he was he had just turned 28 at the time, and it was a work-related accident on the outskirts of Colorado Springs. And we did not know about the accident until the following morning. We were notified by actually the owner of the company that he worked for, and we received a knock on the door. It was now on my journey of learning about and understanding our life plans. So we'll go deeper into that. It was understanding that this was all part of a grander plan that I kind of agreed to. Maybe I regret that right now, but I know. But I agreed to this, and this is going to be harder for a lot of people to understand that are grieving, that there is a grander plan. And so it helped me to push me forward so I could uncover more of who I truly am in spirit and as Sara in this family, and for it changed the dynamics of my family completely.
I'm
with
sure.
the sudden passing. So it put me on a journey of understanding and learning more about myself, and going back and kind of like rediscovering myself, and put my life and reprioritizing my life, and understanding that there is so much more that that is out there beyond our physical eyes. And that is what my son in spirit has been able to share with me now that I communicate with him. So it put me on the journey of helping to heal myself. And then in turn, it helped heal the family. And then I began communicating more fully with him and with other spirits to help other family members.
Now, prior to his passing, were you in any way aware that you could connect to?
No, now, I mean, hindsight now, I can.
Like, were you in that mind space, or did that come about just because of him reaching out to you and showing you the possibilities?
Showing the possibilities. I had, those God winks all along in life. The 22s were showing up in my life all along, but I just thought that was a coincidence. I didn't know there was a meaning or what that meant. I just thought it was cool and fun and magical. And I would have a few things that almost like, I don't know if it was psychic or premonitions or the law of attraction. I even remember back when I was like 6 or 7, and I remember just wishing and wishing and wishing for, I wanted a Cinderella dress. I wanted a beautiful light blue Cinderella, right? I remember this so vividly. And Adam's reminded me of this. And I remember just wishing on it and thinking, I said, I want one, because that was back, we're talking like 66. Okay. Yeah. And it was weeks later, my sister came home, she's the oldest, came home from college, and she goes, "Here, Sara, I thought you'd want my old prom dress." And it was light blue big and full, even though for her it was like knee length, but on me, it hit the floor. And it was like, it's my Cinderella dress, you know? So I had a lot of those little winks, but I didn't understand. You know, I thought it was just my dreams coming true.
Coincidence or
didn't understand, and there was nothing to push me to learn more about it.
And you weren't
no one around me.
You weren't a Reiki practitioner either.
No, so that put me.
You weren't even in energy work or healing work at all, which is so interesting because that's who you are as a healer. But when did you first have an inkling or a nudge that he was reaching out to you from the other side? Because I know so many people who are going to be listening to this are like, that's not even possible. What are you talking about? I can feel that people are tuning in maybe to have this conversation, maybe open the door a little bit. There is possibility.
I can see those years before his passing where I was more open to it and receptive. I remember my niece saying, oh, you need to check out Teresa Caputo. You know, Long Island Medium was just becoming popular on the air. So I started investigating and learning about that. Now, I was always into ghosts, but that end of it, you know, just because it wasn't, even though most of my family was already in spirit, crossed over, but it wasn't something I wanted to learn about. I just wanted to watch it on TV kind of thing, you know?
You didn't think that it was possible for you to connect?
I thought it was just special people.
The spirit.
Just special people. Oh, only Sylvia Brown, only James Van Praagh.
Except that we're all special and we all have access to connecting.
And that
people
was
don't realize.
Yeah. And then, but we can back up. I always knew I had this inner knowing that Adam was going to have a short life. I can't say how I knew. I just had that knowing. You know, it created a lot of worry throughout.
As a mom, that must have been very, very challenging because you don't have a frame of reference of when, but you have this impending feeling like it's coming.
It's coming.
And so how do you parent without fear?
I know. I didn't have that feeling with my daughter, and I still don't. So then I could say this feels different. And there's so much alike, you know, very, very outgoing, bubbly. So it wasn't, there was a big difference in personalities. I just had this knowing, but I couldn't pinpoint why. I didn't even know how to learn about this feeling and understand it at the gravity, but I wasn't supposed to.
Sometimes you have to go through something.
Yes, I was supposed to go through this.
Fully experience the lessons that come with it. But gosh, when you're in grief, the pain is so deep and
it's so deep and dark.
And it's incredible that you've come so far in 4.5 years. I mean, your entire life has changed, really.
Whole life. And I had a neighbor that stopped by a few years before Adam passed, and she stopped by when I was doing yard work, and she goes, I don't know your son, because she was new in the neighborhood. She goes, but I just want to let you know I had this dream last night, and I dreamed something bad happened to him. And it shook me because it was like a validation for me going back to like,
I could feel like a shiver just going down your spine, hearing that from her.
Yes. And I just she left. And I said, no, thank you for telling me. But I didn't know, I didn't even think, what do I do with this information?
Was that relatively close to the time he passed, or was it
about
like months?
I'm going to say about 3 years before.
3 years.
3 years before.
Wow.
Yeah, about 3 years. And so it was like I told my husband, but I did not, of course, tell Adam.
Right.
And you know, they're all going, "Oh no, she's just a weirdo," and you know, this neighbor's a weirdo, and she's a weirdo.
Did Adam know that his life was going to be short?
No. He says now he did not. It was a surprise because everything, he was in such a good place. He was in a good place. It was, you can see, I call it the nesting syndrome, where a lot of people before they pass, they get all their ducks in a row. Or a woman who's about to give birth, they get everything ready.
Right.
It's kind of like that. And now, and I realized that not too soon after Adam passed, I realized, oh my gosh, You know, I mean, he even apologized to a vice principal a couple years prior to for all the, you know, shenanigans that he did in high school years before.
He had some higher self nudging that was kind of
higher self nudging and he was very, very open, meaning he was a good manifester, a very positive person, an uplifter for others,
and still is.
And still is.
He still
is. And very rambunctious. And so I see why it's almost like he came in as an angel to help all those, because it affected his sudden death, affected so many, because he was their go-to person. He was their list, you know, the sounding board, or to lift them up, or to joke with them, or to go to things. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you. And then I also had a moment a few weeks before he passed. This was the first time I ever remember hearing Spirit's voice, ever. I wouldn't have recognized it. You know, you hear a voice and you think it's yourself, but this was a distinct, different voice. And it was a few weeks, just weeks before he passed. It was on the holidays. And we were getting a new stovetop, and it required different pots and pans because it was a flat burner. And I was on my knees pulling out the pots and pans, and I remember saying, "Oh, I'm going to give some of these pots and pans to Adam," because he would always use a frying pan on the grill and burn it. He was always going through frying. So I heard this distinct voice, very calm, saying, "Well, he won't be here to use them." And it was like, okay, it wasn't scary. It was just very calming and warm. And it was, like I said, a female voice. And then, then I heard, there was a pause, and I said, "Okay." Like out loud, I said it. And then I heard, "But everything's going to be all right," or "Everything's going to be okay." Something to that effect. And it was like, I just kind of paused.
What do you do with that? Like,
what do I do with this?
That's pretty significant.
So I said, okay. And I just felt this, it was almost like I jumped in time somewhere. That's what it felt like. And then it was like I came back in, and I was like, okay, I'm back on the floor doing my pots and pans.
Right.
So I put those pots and pans in the garage. And of course, he never got to use those pots and pans. So they're still in the garage.
They're still there?
They're still there. They're still there. So those were the little winks, but same thing. I didn't know what to do with it. It was like, you know,
there's no logical box to put some of these experiences in. And so and what we're doing really, they say we're waking up, but what we're really doing is tuning our frequency just a little higher. So as we're tuning our frequency higher, so I just want to explain to people what connecting to spirit is, or mediumship is like just turning your dial from FM to satellite. You're literally you're tuning your frequency to match that of the vibrational frequency of the spirit of the individual who's passed. Or if you go higher and connect to higher frequencies, maybe connect to energy collectives like Abraham Hicks does. Or if you go higher, connect to source, which everybody can. It's really like just having a tuning fork and tuning to that vibration. So your experience with Adam really was fine-tuning your frequency to align with him. Right.
Yes, to align with him. And I was always a very positive person. So that was a plus for me, because I could have easily gone out the deep end, because I even remember telling friends throughout my life, if anything happened to one of my kids, I'd have to be committed, you know? So then I went through that stage, of feeling guilt, because then I started going back, okay, all the things that I wished for as a kid. Right. And I'm thinking,
did I bring this on myself?
Did I just bring this on? So then, so I was carrying all this guilt. And so then, as I began communicating and learning more and just asking the questions, so I would receive the answers, and just like, no, we each have our own journey. We can't control each other's journey, you know?
Also, I think it's important to ask the right question.
and ask.
Don't ask questions that are going to validate your suffering and create more suffering. Don't
Correct.
ask why me, why, because that's going to just give you answers that are going to disempower you, make you feel worse. So you're going to ask questions.
Yes.
Did I do something wrong? Did I think about this? Did I, like did I manifest this? What did I do to deserve this? Right? Those are all disempowering questions. These major life traumas are so hard and difficult, but also there's a lot of learning that comes.
Lots of learning about yourself.
Growth. So what was his first little nudge to kind of get you to think,
well,
was that a sign?
Nudge with me. Now, his daughter made the drawing the night a few hours before his passing.
Share that with our audience, because that was so
yes.
I wish you had actually, you know what?
I'll send a picture and you can,
I'll
you can add it.
You can add the video because it's really incredible. So she was how old?
She had just turned 5, like the week before his passing. And she was at her kitchen table or kitchen counter drawing the night of Adam's accident while her mom was cleaning up the kitchen. And she just left it all there when she went to bed. And then when we got the news the following morning, she is the only one I personally called, was my granddaughter's mother. She's the only one I was able to get words out. And I know that was part of it too, because from the next 5 days after that, it was hard for me to even talk. And she contacted us when we were in Colorado, like the following day. And she goes, she told my daughter, she goes, "You won't believe this." She goes, I asked her about this drawing. Can you explain it? And it was 2 pieces of paper taped together, typical 5-year-old drawing of stick figures. And she drew a small hill and a big hill. And on the small hill, she had, it was a drawing of herself and of her dad. You can see the height difference, holding hands. And then on the top of the hill was a cross with another figure on it. And then there were angels and birds. I don't remember if there's clouds or not. I don't remember that. And so she asked her, she goes, what? Because she hadn't told her daughter the following day. She was waiting a few days until things settled down with the emotions in the house. She was wanting me to tell her, but she ended up telling. Like I said, I wasn't able to talk physically. And she asked her, she said, "What is this?" And she goes, I'm holding Daddy's hand and walking him up to Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
On the hill, Calvary Hill. Now, mind you, Aubrey was not raised in a church, didn't attend Sunday school. This was not something that was in her daily life. So she wouldn't even know about the hill. So you can see how this was like, this is her knowing coming through. And which gave me, at the time, at the moment I learned this, it didn't give me peace, because I was still in a really pissed off place, full of anger. But I knew that this was just one beautiful step that was going to be in my unknown journey at the time. Because it was discussed at his celebration of life service. My brother spoke about this drawing, and it's come up many times. Does she recall making this drawing? No, she's 9 now. But it is something that so impacted us, because I was raised Catholic, so Jesus was a huge part of my life. And we were to learn to trust and have faith that he lived in eternal life, right? And so it's very poignant that it was on the cross, that this was Jesus on the cross, to crucified. Okay, so it pushed me to have a stronger faith through my granddaughter, saying, "Oh, she can communicate, I can communicate too." That was the big step. Also, I told you I was a fan of Teresa Caputo and several of the other ones. I had gone to, they had tickets for a live gallery reading with Teresa. And it was my first time to go to an event like that, and in Houston. And I don't know, there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 people there. And I bought tickets, and my daughter couldn't attend with me. This is exactly 1 month before his passing. I asked a friend of mine, who she and I used to talk about ghosts and, silly, scary stuff all the time over the years. So she went with me last minute. So it was that 1 month before, but I know now that I was supposed to attend to see this in person, to see this is really real, to watch Teresa just give these random messages to parents or, to other ones who are missing their loved ones. And it was like, this was another one I could reflect on, after Adam passed, you know, like, oh my gosh, everything was lining up to get me ready and prepared, so I wouldn't go down the deep end.
Right.
Also, that Christmas, all I asked for was the Teresa Caputo book that had just been released. That's why she was doing these gallery readings. Well, Santa didn't bring it. So I went after Christmas and picked it up. And
forgot to pick it up.
Right? I had it on my coffee table. I just finished reading it the night of Adam's accident. Wow. I just finished the book. I had it on my coffee table. Matter of fact, I have it right here on my table now looking at me, and I didn't even realize it.
Oh my gosh.
Funny story. And then when we got the knock on the door and everything fell apart, my husband came in, kicked the coffee table, and I had different things on the coffee table, you know, different decorations and stuff. The only thing that fell off was her book. It flipped, and it flipped completely over, up, you know, with the cover upright, facing my daughter and I. So I just looked at it, and I knew that was from him. I knew that was a sign saying, this is real. This is real. Meaning not just that the validation of the book and the learning of this, but I wasn't even sure the message we got at the door was real, because I was still in limbo. It's like, what just happened in the past 2 minutes? What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I picked up the book and I slung it across the room. So that was my first validation from him. But we had several from then on, from the lights flickering. This was all before we even, you know, in the first few days. And then we had funny things happen to us in our trip to Colorado. And that made us all laugh and giggle. But it was from the music, from the lights, to the synchronicities of hearing his name on the TV. I remember I knew to listen to uplifting things on TV. So I'd go to that old, whatever the channel is that plays all the reruns, you know, black and white reruns.
Yeah.
And a Bonanza episode came on. This was just a couple weeks after he passed. And I stood there. I walked in the room, and it was their pilot episode where his wife was in the pilot episode. She was giving birth to their firstborn. And she was sitting on the bed, you know, and Ben Cartwright on the edge of the bed, and they're flipping through it. And she goes, I think we should name our son Adam. I love the name Adam. And they're reading scriptures out of the Bible about Adam. And I'm just standing in front of the TV going, what? I'd forgotten first that they even had a son on that show, Adam, first off. Yeah. Secondly, I didn't know there was ever an episode with the wife in it.
Yeah.
Let alone a pilot episode, because they looked different. They weren't even out on the ranch yet, you know?
Right.
So it was like, I just stood there going, how did the timing of this happen at this exact moment? So that was a beautiful, beautiful God wink for me right there, let alone all the music and different things. And everything that corresponded from songs playing on the radio that we had played like at the service, you know, old songs and different things, everything would just pop in, and other people would tell me things too. I heard this, or I saw this, or, you know, I came across this.
You're getting some confirmations from just outside of yourself, which is powerful.
Yeah.
Because when you're just experiencing it, you're like, I could be crazy. There are awful lot of coincidences happening here.
Yes.
Synchronicities, but you can still convince yourself that, okay, I'm in
doubt.
I'm in so much grief, and I'm just grasping, you know. So
yes.
how
no, you're right,
wonderful.
Because it was constant, you know, every day. But if I was sinking and and I had plenty of icky days, plenty of those.
Sure, of course.
I would still feel his nudge and know he was there, but I couldn't rationalize because I was so deep in having my own grief party that I didn't want my life like this and how to change it.
Yes.
And so I kept going back to the past, which a lot of us do. We go back and relive. How could we have done it differently? What could I have done differently? So it was processing and working through all those would have, could have, should have, releasing. And that's when I came across a Reiki practitioner, because I was looking for alternative methods of, you know, of therapy to help me. Because I took on a lot of physical pain immediately after he passed, to the point where my hips I mean, even at the services, I was in so much pain.
You're probably holding so much emotional pain, and it was manifesting in you physically.
It manifested instantly. I'm a good manifester, right? I'm Cinderella dress.
There's no filter.
But I couldn't wrap my head around it. It was like nothing was connecting yet, because
but all the pieces were there. They were all floating. All the puzzle pieces were floating around. You just hadn't put the puzzle together. Yeah.
And then learning about how, like you said, the emotions in our body, that your lower back and your hips, all that was your stability in life, your foundation. And my foundation got ripped out. So that was the first thing to go, right?
Not only that, but you're one in a family. Everyone's grieving too in their own way. So there's that additional external stress.
So we were all doing it differently.
Everybody does grieve differently, right?
Yes.
As your Facebook group.
Yeah. And even with my daughter, it helped her. And I can't really say to speak for her, but she was a believer in Teresa and all this because she watched the show too. So this was not something new to us, but it wasn't in our family yet. It wasn't in our little circle yet.
It
was still out there.
Tangible. It was a concept until he passed and it became more real.
Yes, it sure did. It became so real. So after going to a couple of Reiki sessions to help with the healing, because my grief was moving down my body, starting from my back to my hips to the hamstrings to the knee. In the right knee,
it was working its way out.
Yeah.
It was working its way out slowly.
Right? Slowly. So after the couple Reiki sessions, which was just down the road for me, which I didn't even know was there because I had my blinders on and didn't notice any of, any of these other modalities out there. And I said, I really want to learn more about this. And then my sister called and she goes, well, they offer it at the local college and they've been offering it there for years. And I was like, what? Really? So that put me in a path of wanting to learn how to help heal myself. So learning about energy healing is just used as Marconics. And that was beautiful because my Reiki instructor, the Reiki master, was an angel channeler. But I didn't know that until the second semester. Which
you having that religious foundation probably was the perfect person for you to go.
Perfect. So I learned from the moment he passed was to follow those dots, those nudges, because that's what you were supposed to do in life. And maybe I was. Looking back, I don't think I did in life because I resisted a lot, just raising kids, right? You want them to act and do and be a certain way, right? We know that.
All moms start out that way. Not all of us get to the place that we're at where you realize, they have to be the fullest expression of themselves, but we're so programmed. Like, no,
we're programmed.
This is how it's going to go down, and you're going to be this, and you're going to do this, and accomplish this, and we're going to be proud of you, and da 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 da.
Yeah, we just want the average. Right? Yeah, we want that Leave with the Beaver family. And it doesn't work out that way.
Which is an illusion, actually.
Everything's an illusion.
Which you don't find out
right?
Later, right? You'll find that out later. I'm curious how long it took before you really started to foster and buy into this connection. At first, there's a realization, hey, there's some synchronicities here. Maybe there's some sort of communication happening. But then there's this point of full connection. It's kind of like you're trying to plug that plug into the outlet and you're kind of missing, and then you plug in.
Yeah, you're right. Like I don't have my glasses on and I'm trying to.
Yeah, right. And you put them on, you're like, oh, there it is. Was there kind of an aha moment for you where you were, you were just like, boom, we're synced and I'm locked in?
I had lots of aha moments, but then I'd go back down, those waves. Mm-hmm. It was because I had to really work on releasing my beliefs, my old beliefs, the old ways of doing grief.
Right.
Because we're so programmed.
And how did you do that? Did you just have intuition around it? Did you have?
I had a little bit of,
in that journey, or
the beautiful,
Adam was
you're right. The beautiful part too was my Reiki practitioner, since she was an angel channeler. Mm-hmm. She brought it into, it was normal for her because she had done it her whole life since a little girl. So if that's normal, well, if she can talk to the ascended masters and the archangels and Jesus, well, I can too. It wasn't just the priest and the nuns, how I was raised.
Right.
And so,
so she opened your mind.
She was raised Catholic.
Mm-hmm. So, but she opened
the mind to make it normal.
Yeah, she, through example, showed you that you can still have these foundational beliefs, yet connect in this way.
Yes, because because when we have something tragic happen to us, we revert back to our own personal experiences, to make us feel grounded in some way, right? Yeah. So we reflect back to things. Right. So it was like, I remember even Adam, this is further on, but Adam showing me different memories I have of grief growing up, tragic. Like the first big death was when I was in kindergarten with my grandmother, and my brother tricked me to go over and try to wake her up in the casket. That kind of stuff. So I had, that was just because she's asleep, right? So I had all those weird things. And then, and then he would show me a memory of mine and say, no, look, this is how you were raised. Look at how the Kennedys, look how Jackie Kennedy, how stoic she was through the grief process with her husband, and how her children acted, and that everything was very formal and you just didn't blurt out everything. You didn't, right? Right? You sucked it up, and this is how it was. Mm-hmm. And so I started like, you know what? You're right. I've learned those from others. I didn't, there was a big variety of different ways I did grief growing up, because I had, like I said, most of my family's in spirit now, many friends who I can talk to now. And so the pivotal moment was, it was almost like you get a teeter-totter. Like you have those conversations, I'd have our conversations, and then I'd be around someone else, or someone would post something sad on Facebook about Adam or something, and would tip me back over. And I'd fall back into the old beliefs. So I had to keep, for me, it was with their guidance to help me to bring up ways and beliefs that I had that were hindering me, that were holding me back. All those fears of I shouldn't do this, or I couldn't do this.
Fear is the biggest dream killer.
Or how many people feel they're not worthy to speak to Jesus, right? So,
or their loved one on the
or their loved ones.
I feel the biggest obstacle, and the only obstacle, is what you believe is true.
Yeah. But I didn't know that in the beginning.
Right. But I mean, for people that are new to grief or have recently lost somebody, what they know because of society's programming is that this is impossible. They're gone forever. There's no way I can connect. But you and I both know that there is an open channel, but changing your belief system is what needs to shift, allow you to have access to that, and releasing that belief that there's no way it's possible, to knowing that it is actually possible, and those godwings are real, and synchronicities, and walking into that store and hearing that song that was your mother's favorite song, or smelling their perfume, or those aren't random.
No, they're not random. So it's getting out of your left brain and getting more into your right brain.
And it takes time.
Yeah. Because it might be a pattern. For me, it's been, over 5 decades of doing it a certain way.
Right. So how were you able to shift and unlearn or release that old programming and get into a space where you could more openly embrace this concept?
Meditation. So meditation, when you're in grief, is a double-edged sword, right? You can either sink back in and think about how it was and try to, the pattern of trying to fix it, which you can't, or I was open to new ways. I don't know how I knew that, but just to ask and say, I need new ways of looking at this differently, new perspectives. Show me, why did he die early? Why did he choose this route? Because then there's multiple layers to everything, as we know, not just one answer, multiple layers, all intertwined. And so, and then I could hear, I just feel like his download, because for me, the archangels came very strongly, and so did Jesus, very strongly in. But it was almost, I had to believe that I could, first was the big one.
Right.
I had to believe, and had to isolate myself and make a Zen environment for me that wasn't contradicting what I was, wanting to change in my belief system. That's a big one. And knowing, because I even remember telling my friends in the first few months, I will be able to talk to Adam. I know I can. And I know he'll hear me. Not knowing he was already hearing me at that point.
Right.
See?
He's like, yes. Right on.
But I didn't understand that.
How were your friends and the people around you reacting to that? Because you're not going to get a lot of support.
No, you're right.
When you're like, my son died, and I know I can talk to him, and they're like,
oh yeah,
what deeper
right. Here's a message from my son for you.
Yeah.
A lot of them thought, they didn't say I was loco, but I knew they were thinking that because they knew I was in grief. So they weren't going to say it right to my face.
They're going to blame the grief, right?
They're going to blame the grief. And I did hear other people say, they came to me and say, oh, so-and-so said this about you, which you should do that as an adult anyway.
No.
Right? And it was just like, it would pull me down. But then I realized, so I said, okay, Adam, why is that person saying that? And he goes, oh, well, you had this past life connection with that person. And that's why she always gets under your skin in this life. And I said, okay, well, let's work on healing that and changing it. Sure enough, she has changed her belief now over the years.
Isn't that interesting?
So when she has a loved one pass or someone that she cares about, she'll message me and say, so-and-so passed. What can you tell me about them, or a message? And it's like, boy, that flipped.
Yeah. Isn't that
completely flipped.
Yeah.
Not that her family probably knows about it, but yes.
I want to point out to our viewers that Adam's picture is right above Sarah's head on that shelf. She wanted to include him. He's right up there, smiling his beautiful smile. So there he is, for those of you who don't know who he is. And I know that you have been placed on this earth to walk people through grief and suffering. You're a healer. You've always been a healer, whether you realized it or not. When did you start realizing you can take the lessons that you learned and help others go through the grief process?
Grief first is different stages. So you think, oh, you still need more knowledge or more, but then you get to the point where, and I remember my dad coming through in a message saying, you just have to be and experience life now, instead of staying in the learning mode all the time. Learning meaning filling the voids, because a lot of times when we're in a dark place or in a sad place, we want to fill that space and not have quiet time. Right? So the quiet time was get back to doing things you enjoy doing, and you'll see everything starting to click into place. Get back to your crafts, get back to your baking and cooking and doing things that you like to do, and be yourself, and don't be afraid to be yourself, to express yourself. So between my dad's message and then Jesus telling me that, is it still my choice what I want to do, if I want to move forward and to help others, or I want to keep it inside. However, was fine. There's no right or wrong in that. But to know that every second of every day there's someone that's hurting because of something tragic that has happened to them, and to have that ripple effect, whether it's me planting the seed, you planting the seed, all of us planting seeds to help open up their awareness. So that was huge for me, getting those messages to say, okay, well, I can do it in small chunks. I don't have to just like open my door and say, hello, I'm here.
Right. What was the first step? What was the first step?
After I got my Reiki master certification, it was being able to do energy healing on others. So I said, I called it energy healing, Reiki energy healings, and intuitive messages from the angelics. I kept it kind of calm like that, which was still beautiful, but it would just be like you might only get 3 or 4 messages.
It was more socially acceptable.
It's more so, yes.
People could wrap
and that was my own insecurities. And because I was still going through a lot. We had things going on. We had different things with Adam's accident. We had still a lot of things going on.
There were a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. A lot of moving parts. Even though I was even getting messages from Source saying, it's all going to work out just fine. You have to relax. And because I'm a good manifester, to start visualizing, seeing it all working out fine. Mm-hmm. How do you want to see it work out? How do you want to see this court case work out? How do you want everything to go? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want, which, we just talked about. Yeah. So I came out as, that. And then I came out in the fall of 2015 as part of the Channeling Eric Mediums team, and as an energy healer and intuitive reader. And that was in the fall. So that wasn't quite 2 years after Adam passed. And then they kept pushing me to be listed as a medium. And I go, oh, I'm not ready. I could hear him talking to me. I'm not ready. And this was Adam and Eric. And I go, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Next thing I know, my name's on the medium, under the medium.
They're like, we'll take care of this for you.
Well, I wasn't there yesterday and now I'm there. How did that happen? But it's like, of course it happened. Of course it happened, right? And I remember just,
oh gosh,
as funny as it seems, I was in the kitchen breaking out in a sweat, talking to them, right? Mm-hmm. And going, how did this happen? Which I know darn well they made it happen. But I'm trying to logically, at this point, going, wait a minute, how did I get shifted onto this page? What happened? And he said, well, you wouldn't have done it on your own. That's the problem.
Yeah, right. We need the kick. We needed the kick.
So, right. So
did people start calling you, or?
Yeah. So then I started having more, and then I'd get like nervous about it, because we all want to do a great job. And I know, because I went for readings, after Adam passed. That was another shift in me too. And I didn't mention that I went to my first readings 6 weeks after he passed, because I just knew he was trying to reach out and tell me something. I didn't know this was going to be lifelong. I thought it was just something urgent he needed.
One and done message.
And that really shifted me, and that put me on that path of they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Because these are just ordinary people in here in this room.
What I love about
in a different frequency.
And I've said this to you so many times, Sarah, what I love about your work is not only do you offer information from people who've passed and share those messages, but also you teach people how to connect to their loved ones. You provide that key piece by teaching people and empowering people to connect themselves.
To do it themselves.
Yes. And that's so powerful, so that you don't have to pay $100 every time you want to connect.
Right.
You can actually connect yourself if you know how, if you have the faith, if you have the guidance of you, walking through the process. Yeah. And it's not only just the steps to connect, but as you're teaching them, I think you're healing them as well.
I think it's an activator. Well, just like everything, just like this video will be an activator, because something's going to go, that's clicking. I get it.
Yeah, it's possible.
Apply that.
It's possible. Yeah. Everything is possible.
It's working through those fears.
Yes. And I think as we're shifting higher vibrationally, humanity in general, as humanity is shifting higher, the density is being dropped. So the fears are being pulled away. A lot of people have an icy grip on fear, but really, as we're raising vibrationally, more is going to become available to us. There's more of an awareness that things are possible that maybe 10 years ago, people would have been totally closed-minded to.
Yes.
Closed off. So how can people find you, and tell me about the services that you offer?
Yes. So my website is sarakujawa.com, and you'll have the link with the spelling, because it's a tricky one.
Put it down. Yes. Hello.
Yes. And then I have, I co-created a group with my son, Adam, and it is on Facebook, and it is called Doing Grief Differently with Adam and Sarah. And it's a closed group, so you have to send a request to join the group. And we talk about, keep it more uplifting. That is my goal with Adam, that is uplifting. Because we have plenty of other grieving groups that are different. But I keep it positive, uplifting. Adam comes in with usually daily jokes that I can share.
Sense of humor. His sense of humor, he's so hilarious. But I encourage you, if you are going through any type of grieving in your life right now, and you feel alone, reach out to this Facebook group because it's such a beautiful, supportive environment. It's not an environment where you show up as a victim. You show up for healing.
Show up
because you want to heal and you want to move forward and you want to honor the memory of your loved one. And many people in the group connect to the loved ones that have passed. And it's just a beautiful, gosh, it's really grown and expanded so quickly.
It has, hasn't it? Thank you.
There's a need. You're feeling it.
There's a need. And to know that if this is something, if this video interests you or intrigues you, then check out the Facebook group. And just know that this is my new norm and many people's new norm. And that there's a reason. If you're drawn to this video, drawn to the Facebook group, that means you've got people in spirit that are nudging
Someone's nudging you to maybe open your mind to the possibility.
Just open one door and then another door will open another door. And that's been the beauty of all this, of all of us. Look at all of us living in the Houston area that.
I know, it's so incredible. And for all of us getting to where we are now, it was a process. It was a process of taking one step. You know, it took us years to get from point A to where we are now in our abilities and what we can offer people in terms of healing and recovery from working through trauma and things like that. We didn't just arrive here magically. We had to go through our own unfolding process, right? And unpacking, and we had to take each step. And the key was really to follow and pay attention to the synchronicities.
Yeah,
those
all the way through.
Are magic mushrooms in the game of life. I always think and joke that life is kind of like a Super Mario game. I still love that game. Nintendo game. And, you know, if you look at life as a Super Mario game and you know to jump and find those magic mushrooms, and they're going to power you up and level you up, if you apply that to your everyday life, you know, those synchronicities are little magic mushrooms that kind of power you up. And if you
oh my gosh, yes,
just touch that mushroom and power up, you will level up in your awareness, your consciousness, your abilities. You won't even realize you're doing it. The key is to actually pay attention. Right?
Pay attention, because if you slow down your thoughts, you can pay attention and be more present.
People who are rushing through life and just blamming through life and always thinking 5 steps ahead, never in the moment, you have a trail of breadcrumbs that you are missing. You're like, I'm not
cookie crumbs.
Signs. Yeah, I'm not getting any signs. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, you actually have to kind of slow down and pay attention to see them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So don't think, and I know in this, you're right. You got to get to that point where you're not the victim and realize that everything happens for you, not to you. Yeah.
Sarah,
it's a process.
What advice can you offer to people who are going through the grieving process? You've been through it.
Yeah. Patience. A lot of it is patience with yourself and with all those in your family and your dynamics in the circle, because everyone does do different things. You know, everyone processes differently. So, and not to make another big one that really helped me, do not make major changes, like with your location or anything major shifts on that first 6 months to 12 months, because you're not in that framework of stability yet. Mm-hmm. So making a huge life change, you know, is, because it's almost the effect of like you're trying to move away from it, when really grief, you have to go through it.
You almost have to sit in it to go through it, right? You can't run from it or bury it.
And talking out loud or in your thoughts or journaling or writing to your loved ones. Keep that connection going. Don't think that they're not hearing or they're not replying. That part is yours, is to be able to hear. Know that they are hearing you. So keep that line of communication open. And then the more you practice that, you will see it'll become just your new norm. And that will
also, when you're writing, I think you're open to hearing. And sometimes words are going to be coming through you
Yeah, automatic
and
writing.
you're going to start getting answers, you know, if you start writing and you're just open to hearing the answers and connecting to that.
Yes, I did. I used automatic writing
channel.
quite a bit in the very beginning. Well, now I even do on the Facebook group. I just sit down and say, okay, Adam, what's the message? And I'll just type it out. So that's why you'll see typos in it, because it just comes through and I'm trying to keep up. You know, you can't say pause. Wait, could you repeat that, please?
No, it's coming fast and
it's
furious.
just a conversation. Yeah, fast and furious.
Yeah.
So yeah, automatic writing, or it's called spirit writing. I know it's nothing to fear. You know, just anyone who's an author, poet, who is a songwriter, it's all channeled. It's all channeled information coming through. So your loved ones can come through as long as you get out of your head and get into your heart space.
You almost have to take that logical part of your mind and just kind of push it aside, step aside, like allow that logical brain to step aside to create space for the information. Because if the whole time you're like, this is bullshit, this isn't what is happening, you know, if the whole time you're questioning, shutting it down, well, guess what? You're going to shut that down.
Yeah, right.
Not have access. So, you know, it's all personal choice. Also, I want to ask you, Sara, what is the best thing for somebody to offer in terms of support for someone who's grieving?
Oh, just listening. Just being the listener. Of course, food is the number one thing, right?
Right.
Food.
Great food.
Or a card in the mail to say, I'm thinking about you, you know, but not avoiding talking about their family member, not avoiding it, because then you feel like that they've gone past it and they've moved beyond, and you're still in it and you can't understand why. So don't be afraid to bring up their loved one's name, even if it brings up tears, but just being a good listener.
And a memory, share a funny memory.
And
that's beautiful.
You know, really, for me, it was important because I thought the further time passed that I was further away from Adam, when really, first off, there's no time, right? That's just a human construct here on earth. And secondly, it brought me closer. Once I got past that and said, no, I can move forward, because the more I move forward, I'm moving closer to Adam, not further from him. That was huge, because when you are in grief, you don't want to forget everything about them. You want to keep those memories.
And sometimes people feel like in order to do that, they have to stay in grief. But it's quite the opposite. You don't have to remain in the suffering to honor the memory. Don't
feel guilty if you have you know, more and more moments.
You're meant to laugh. You're meant to enjoy life. You're meant to progress and move through the process, not dwell there for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
They don't want your life to be put on pause because of their passing. They want you to come and be the fullest expression of you in this life.
Because they'll still around you, and they're guiding you, and they're laughing with you, whether you hear them or not. They are there and are an active role in your life. But from your physical eyes, you can't wrap your head around it either, or see it. Yeah.
And look for the signs. We get nickels. We get nickels from Mike's dad who passed. You know, you don't find nickels on the side. You find a penny a lot of times, you know. But we find nickels, and whenever we find nickels, we know it's dad. And one time we were in a parking lot, and we both got out of the car, and there were 2 nickels, one for him and one for me.
Isn't that awesome? That's awesome. I love it.
So awesome, you know. So look for those little.
And they're there. And you know, some people say don't look, but just look. You're going to connect. Once you connect, and you'll know it's truth.
You'll feel something
your heart space
inside. Yes, you'll feel
that little bit of tingle, or then you know.
Whether it's seeing a butterfly, or for us finding nickels, you know, you'll kind of know it's the thing. You'll get it. Just pay attention.
You'll just get it. You'll just feel it, and you don't have to, because in another downfall from that is, don't go out and share it with everybody you know because you found these nickels, because other people might diss it, and that's going to bring you down.
Right.
So until you get strong enough, then share.
Honor your truth. You honor your truth and know that this means something to you, and you follow that prompt. And Sara and I both know that your loved ones are always walking beside you.
Always.
Whether you have names or not.
Forever.
And they are loving you from beyond. So on that note, I think I'm going to wrap it up here, Sara. But is there anything? Well, first of all, let me honor you for being the beautiful you, and for helping so many people on their journey. You have
well, thank you, Wendy.
So many people,
You're
and
so kind.
every person you help, there's a ripple effect that goes out. So you're not just helping one person, you're helping all the people in their circle. So thank you for being you and doing your beautiful work.
Thank
and shining your light here. There's a huge population that you're serving. But before we close out, are there any last words you want to share to help people, or words of wisdom that have helped you?
Well, this is from Adam. Adam's saying just be more mindful, stay present, focus on today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't dwell in the past. Focus on today. Today is where all the happiness is in the moment. In the moment, you make the moment. You create your own reality. And so that was a big learning curve for me. Even though I knew I was a good manifester, but it was like, what do you mean I create my own reality? How did I, so it's like you can be uplifting or you can be down in the dumps. That's your choice every second of every day. So make better choices.
As usual, perfect advice. So thank you for sharing that to all my listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you know anyone who is going through grief, we would love for you to subscribe, like, and share to this. Contact Sara if you have any questions. I hope you're all kind to yourselves, and I love you all. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Love you,
Sara.
Love you, Wendy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Sara.
Bye-bye.